Hello there, dear loving souls. Welcome to this office and welcome to this channel where we talk all about universal laws and practicing love. Now, did you click on this video because you're not feeling centered? You're feeling off balance, like you're not yourself? You're feeling some of the symptoms of not feeling centered and not feeling grounded, not feeling well? Well, that's okay, my friend and my dear loving soul. In this video series today, in part 1, part 2 and part 3, we'll be talking through about what is it like when you're not feeling centered, some practical steps that you can take in order to become more centered using the Holy Trinity of love, of thinking love, speaking love and doing love. And we'll definitely in part 3 also jump into some messages from the spirit world on this topic in order to help us all feel more centered. Because the truth is, no one is immune from those days when you're just not feeling yourself. And let's jump into part 1, which is delving more into what is it, what do you feel like when you're not feeling centered? What are some of the symptoms? And so before I kick off, just make sure you grab a glass of water or a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, or whatever your beverage, just to get you through the next part 1, part 2, and part 3. And so we join together and have a drink together. So what I mean by saying not feeling centered, some of the symptoms that I've actually experienced myself 2 days ago, I kid you not, include the following. Thinking of really angry or bitter or tense thoughts. I noticed this about myself literally first thing in the morning when I was simply brushing my teeth, doing that automatic activity that we all do when we're just standing in front of a sink looking at ourselves in the mirror, and I had some really angry theatrical situations come up in my mind, and a bunch of them. At that point in time, I had a trigger thinking, right, something's off. First thing in the morning, this is not my usual self. I do not usually wake up thinking negativity or angry thoughts or frustrated thoughts. So you might be experiencing that, which is that thought pattern that gets you down a very negative loop, right? And you don't know where it's coming from. The other symptom you might be feeling is like these waves of pressure that come on. Either there is a particular trigger that may have gotten you to feel this wave of pressure, wave of emotional imbalance coming through, or it may come out simply as a result of nowhere, out of the blue, or a particular thought has just come through your mind and it's just brought this wave of negativity and pressure through you. And as a result of that pressure, of that wave, you may just feel off balance. You may feel panting, like you're breathing really fast. You might have tears streaming down your face. That's something I had when I'm feeling this pressure, or this wave just comes over me. I just feel like I need to release the tears. Another symptom you might be experiencing when you're feeling off balance is wanting to draw within, find that solitude. Stay away from, the public or public places. Perhaps not wishing to go outside, not wanting to get out of bed, or, not feeling like turning up to work. Or even as simple as not wanting to pick up a phone call to talk to somebody because you feel like you need that solitude. You just want to be by yourself. So there might be a myriad more symptoms that you might be experiencing, or you might see another loved one in your life or a friend experiencing. So comment down below to explain to me or the community of the loving souls, what is it that you experience when you're feeling off-centered? What kind of emotions? What kind of thoughts run through your head? It'd be very helpful to know for the community. And just to talk about some of the universal laws that are at play when we're feeling off-centered. The first one that comes to mind is really, it's all about I'm seeing like the circle or ground zero, the number 0, or circle, the ancient Egyptian symbol for the circle of life. Our world, our planet, for instance, is the round ball, as well as the wheel of fortune. The reason that's coming to mind is because in this lifetime on planet Earth, we experience the good, the bad, and the ugly. We can be at any point on that wheel of fortune. And that wheel of fortune is constantly moving, right? One day you're on top of the world, the next day you could be right at the bottom. You never know how it's going to pan out. And as a result, there are some circumstances that just happen from day to day, some shocking events that may come into your life, or nothing perhaps externally has happened, but you just woke up and you're not feeling quite well. It could be internal changes, hormonal changes, just one example, simply part of aging process, growing up, things like that happening like physiologically, or there could be an illness coming through, right? A physical illness, some kind of bugs, your body might be fighting something. That just simply happened, and you might not be feeling yourself. So the reason I think that circle of life, or the wheel of fortune comes through, is because of how the need to actually try and feel centered at any point of your life. It will be challenging and it will be difficult, especially if you're at the bottom of that wheel of fortune, right? But the more we can practice love, the more we can take some steps, I think, in order to actually feel more centered, the more likely we'll come out at the other end feeling more balanced, feeling like whatever we accomplish comes to us more easily. You do it in a more effective and efficient manner, and with genuine positivity and happiness and joy. And the more centered we feel, the more likely we are to have those outcomes or results. Now, the second universal law that pops into my mind is all about the being part of it. So being versus doing, right? So when we're feeling not centered, when we're not grounded, when we're not feeling well, it's all about the being. And I suspect the answer actually lies in us tackling the being side of things, how you feel, how you are at a particular point in time, rather than the doing. And sometimes we need to do, we need to proactively manage the doing part in our lives, do less, and focus more, target more, address more the being part of who you are in order to help you feel more centered. Now, in part 2, we will talk more about thinking love and speaking love and doing love, so some active steps you can help get you to feel more centered, but make sure that you use your intuition and in order to actually figure out what's the next best thing for you to take in order to get you more to that feeling centered position. And sometimes it's not in the doing, even though we will be discussing some doing steps in part 2. And the third universal law I want to jump into is actually the freedom of choice. The freedom of choice that we get when we are on planet Earth. And there's two sides of it. The first side is that actually you had the freedom of choice to come up with certain milestones, lessons, obstacles in your life that your soul, your spirit wanted to go through, to experience. And a lot of those may actually be a part of the wheel of fortune that's right at the bottom, right? Because during those challenges and difficulties, that's where we can get sometimes the most growth and development. So bear that in mind, that sometimes these things happen in our life, things throw off our balance, not feeling centered for a really good reason. But the second part of freedom of choice is the fact that you have the freedom of choice to stay as you are. There could be one option, or an alternative option is you might want to practice some more love or take some other steps in order to get you from a position of you feeling not centered and move closer step by step to a place where you are more well, when you are more balanced, when you're feeling better, happier, more joyful, and like there's more love in your life. Now, without further ado, let's just jump into part 2, where we will talk about practicing love and applying these universal laws in order to start moving towards that ground zero, that more centered position in our life. Click on the link below in order to take you to part 2, my dear loving soul. See you shortly.